All right, so those are the things that demographers study. If we look at the relative populations of different countries, you need to know what the most populous, second most populous, and third most populous countries are and their populations. China has 1.35 billion, India has 1.26 billion, the United States has 314 million. We can round that off to 300 million. You'll have to do math for that on the AP exam, so just heads up on that. And they won't tell you the population of the world. They won't tell you the population of the United States. Population size alone doesn't tell you the whole story. People are not distributed equally all over the planet. You have this clump distribution, and we're typically going to be clumped around temperate areas where you have seasons like we live, and then also tropical and subtropical areas. Also, cities are going to have high density, and we're going to be close to water, right? Bodies of water. One of the math problems you had to do for me in your population math was comparing the population density of Canada to that of California, and you had to write a sentence. And so here the answer is that California has a higher population density because they're close to the ocean, which is a transportation route. They also have a nicer climate, less extreme biomes that are present in California versus those in Canada. Also, Canada has lakes, but those don't get you anywhere. You can't use them for transport. So anyway, lowest density tend to be those away from water and extreme environments. Extreme environments would include places like the taiga and the tundra and the desert. Okay, and increased density obviously is going to impact the environment. We're going to talk about that when we talk about land use. So it's a pretty interesting topic. So here on this map we can see population distribution mostly around the coastlines of different countries, and then your areas like India and China are very densely populated because there's a lot of people there. Age structure, so age structure diagrams, those population pyramids that we have already talked about. What they're going to do, you can call them an age structure diagram, or you can call it a population pyramid, but we should know already that a wide base is going to denote many young. Rapid population growth is going to happen, kind of like with our video about Nigeria. Hey, I love that video. Even age distribution, it means that you have an equal number of people at each age class. And I'm going to show you how to say these words the right way. The narrow base means that you have fewer young than old, and that means your population is going to decline. So the first thing that you have to be able to do really is look at the shape of the pyramid and then predict the future. Like you have to invoke your inner psychic. Not really. But here's how to say this. Listen to the sounds of the things that I'm going to say. Okay? This wide-based population pyramid here, this age structure diagrams, the cohorts in the lower ages, these each represent 5 years. So 0 to 4, that's 5 years. Okay. 0 to 4, 5 to 10, or to 9, 10 to 14, those are your pre-reproductive. So if you have to describe this, yes, you can say the population pyramid has a wider base because the age cohorts at the base of the pyramid are more populous. Okay, you don't say, I mean, you can say it has a wide base, but depending on the year and on the rubric, they may not take that. All right, now a stable age distribution has an even number of individuals of each cohort. You don't say it has flat sides. You say that there is a relatively even number of individuals in each age cohort. See the difference? And then decreasing, you have a lower number of individuals in the pre-reproductive age cohorts. They're also called age classes, but yeah. And so here's the population of Canada. Kind of interesting. Most developed countries have a baby boom after World War II. Those individuals now are in their 60s, okay? Because World War II was over, yeah, or 70s. They're getting close to 70. But you can look and you can see it here. And then countries that were really involved in the war, like the United States, Germany, France, the UK, you can look and you'll see the baby boom, but then you'll also see the number of people for the older generations that were actually in the war, you'll see much less men than you will women. If you can, I mean, most of those people are no longer living anyway, but if you look from population pyramids before, you know, they would have gotten to the age where they would have died just from natural causes. Pretty interesting stuff. So you do see the effect of war in population pyramids. Anyway, Nigeria here has a wide base, and they don't have, you can't find World War II there. So, there you go. Many populations are getting older. The mean global age is 28, but it will be 38 by 2050. And this creates an issue called demographic fatigue. Demographic, I hate that green.
Is that a good thing with the meeting?
Sometimes. I'll tell you about it. Let me try again. Fatigue. There you go. So demographic fatigue, you have these older people that are going to have to be taken care of. Positive, though, how many 70-year-olds go and rob a bank or are involved in the drug trade? Okay, so your crime rates go down, but at the same time, you have this strain on your economy because you have to take care of the older people. China's age structure is changing. In 1970, the median age was 20, and that was because their population was growing pretty quickly when they enacted the one-child policy. By 2050, it will be 45. Median age by 2050 will be 65. There will be 300 million people in China over 65 in 2050. That's the population of the United States as old people. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is America? Are the parents and stuff, are they starting to like have less kids?
Yes. If we took out immigrants, the United States would have a shrink-in base of our pyramid. So if we look here at this bar graph, in the background in the bars, you can see that the people over age 65, it has increased, right? But the number of people for each person age 65 and over has decreased. And so you have less people contributing to the tax base to take care of the older people. So in China, you can see that the base of the pyramid is very small. Okay, and there's a very clear line. The one-child policy was enacted around 1970. So if this was in 2012, if we backed it up 40 years, it happened. You can see it. It happened right there. Very interesting, right? So right there.
Why did it come back out then?
Because you have this thing called population momentum. This bulge had children right here. You see it? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So demography is awesome. I would like to study that when I grow up. Anyway. Oh, I got to turn my mouse back on. There we go. Still not making it move. There we go. So sex ratios, like I said, for every 100 females in the natural world, we're going to have 106 males. There's more boys for girls. But in China, it's 120 to 100, so it's more. And so the issue here is that, I think I made my paper. There we go. The issue here is that, what? Okay, I know what happened. I'm sorry. I'm going to make it so you can see. Just one second. The issue here is that there's not enough brides for the males because the culture valued males over females. And so you have this issue with girls getting kidnapped out of the countryside where the population regulations weren't as strict, and they're being sold as brides. Crazy. Immigration, death and immigration is what changes a population. This looks like, if you look at this graph, you're like, oh, we're good. The population growth rate has stabilized. Oh, we're fine. Totally fine. No. When the population growth rate is 2.5% or 2%, your population is doubling every 30 years. This is not okay. Okay, we need the growth rate to be 0. And in developed countries, it's getting there. But in developing countries, it's stayed high. Not okay. Okay, and so that's the issue that we're facing. Even though the rate has gone down, y'all understand from math that anytime you have a positive growth rate, even if the growth rate is 0.1%, you will have a J-shaped exponential curve. Do you know that's true in math? That's a thing. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, like, I thought we needed, like, 2 to replace those.
That makes the growth rate be 0 because it's not grow. You see what I'm saying? The TFR is different than that. So there, TFR. So TFR is the total. It's the average number of babies each lady is making in your country. Replacement fertility in a developed, stable population is 2.1. And the 0.1 comes from the fact that not everybody's going to have children. Some people will be sterile. Some people won't live long enough to have children, whatever. TFR has been decreasing in many nations because of women's rights, industrialization, and quality healthcare. Industrialization provides jobs, which means that if you go to work, you have to pay for childcare, and so that's expensive. In Europe, TFR is low at 1.6. So that's not replacement. The total fertility rate, and I'm going to stop here, in Africa is 4.7. That means an average lady in Africa has 5 kids almost. An average lady in Europe has less than 2. So tomorrow we'll talk about the demographic transition. That's where I stopped in first period. So I'm going to stop here. Let me stop the movie too. We'll pick it up tomorrow. So there we go. Oh, wrong one. I'm working on it. Come on.